Hello everybody and welcome to Doing Stuff and Things. Now on this adventure I'm going to show you 3 amazing things to do, all based out of one location. And that's going to consist of 4 slot canyons and 1 incredible state park. So technically you can count it as 5 things. Now these adventures are going to range in difficulty from pretty easy to pretty dang difficult. And I have videos of all of these adventures in their entirety on the channel. So I'll post links in the description below. Let's go.
Number 1, Goblin Valley. Goblin Valley State Park is located just outside of Hanksville, Utah. The landscape is so weird and bizarre, they filmed the movie Galaxy Quest here for the scenes where they needed to be on a different planet. And one of the really cool things about Goblin Valley is there's no set hiking trail. It's free-range walking. You can go anywhere you want, including climbing on the Hoodoos, which are the rock formations that make up the valley. And the reason you're allowed to hike on them is because there's constantly new ones being developed. So for everyone that falls, a new one's being born. But for even more adventure, you can hike around the back side of Goblin Valley to see 2 pretty spectacular caves. The first one, and biggest, is the Goblins Lair. Right around the corner from the Goblins Lair is Goblettes Lair. Pretty neat caves if you're into caves. Goblin Valley State Park, truly an amazing place to just walk around and explore, and for $5 you can get a permit to fly a drone. Now we go on to our second adventure, which is located just behind that giant pinnacle of rock, Little Wild Horse and Bell Canyon Loop. Right around the corner from Goblin Valley is this epic location for dispersed camping, and that line of rocks right there is crisscrossed with slot canyons. That's where we're going to be hiking. Anywhere in here that you can pull your rig up, you can camp, so it's a pretty great place. And if you're unfamiliar with slot canyons, what they are is really narrow, really tight canyons that are cut through solid rock, and they are a spectacular place to hike. However, you don't want to be anywhere near them during flooding or flash flooding or any rain whatsoever for obvious reasons. People die every year in these canyons. Little Wild Horse Canyon is probably one of my favorite slot canyon adventures, especially if you're a beginner, because the difficulty is only moderate, leaning towards easy. There's not a lot of obstacles, and what few obstacles there are fairly simple to overcome with just a little bit of scrambling and light-duty climbing. Otherwise, the walking's pretty easy. Also, you spend a pretty substantial amount of time in the narrowest sections of this slot canyon, so Little Wild Horse is pretty spectacular. Slot canyon hikes are like no other, and it's so amazing to just sit there and marvel at how the water has scoured these rocks into these crazy twists and turns. And it makes me wonder if they account for these twists and turns when they do the mileage. Slot canyon hikes aren't just narrow, they frequently open up into some truly awe-inspiring bowls that rival the scenery in Zion National Park. Complete the loop by coming back down Bell Canyon. Once you pop outside the other side of the cliffs, you hang a left and you walk around behind the cliffs until you get to Bell Canyon, which is your first canyon entrance, and then you take a left into there. Bell Canyon is by far the easiest hike on this list. And that's one of the reasons why you want to make sure you do this loop counterclockwise. Because Little Wild Horse does have a few, if not minor, obstacles to overcome, whereas Bell is just a chill, easy walking canyon. It's absolutely gorgeous, but it's also a nice reprieve after you've used a little bit of energy in Little Wild Horse. In fact, Bell Canyon is such a chill hike, we actually saw a few trail runners on it. And if you'd like to see any of these canyons in their entirety, I have full videos on the channel with links posted in the description. I find spring and fall to be the best times of year to do these hikes because this is out in the desert and it does get hot. But regardless of what time of year you do this in, make sure you have plenty of water and you stay safe and be careful, because these are extremely difficult areas to get rescued from if you run into trouble. Just a couple miles up the dry creek bed that is the road is our next adventure, and by far the most difficult, Ding and Dang Canyon Loop. When it comes to Ding and Dang Canyon and how to get over the obstacles, there's really no one set way to do it. It's really how you personally feel like doing it. And with Ding Canyon, most of the challenges aren't that big, it's just relentless. There's a lot of them. Now, both of these loop trails are only about 8 to 10 miles, but you really need to start early for a couple different reasons. Not only to beat the rush, but also when it comes to Dang, there are some serious obstacles to overcome. The faces of these canyons change every year with every storm, so how it looks today may not be how it looks tomorrow or next year. Another reason you really want to hit these trails early is because you want to be able to take your time and not feel rushed. This is a terrible place to sprain an ankle. Ding Canyon is a lot of fun with all the bouldering and scrambling, but it's really just an appetizer for what's about to happen in Dang Canyon. Just like Little Wild Horse and Bell Canyon, when you pop out of Ding Canyon, you hang a left. You walk around behind the cliffs until you get to the first canyon you encounter, and that is Dang Canyon. Dang Canyon likes to put you in some pretty unexpected situations. Like instead of walking down the trail on what clearly is the trail, you'll be walking along the face of the rock on the side of the canyon itself just to get around some of these obstacles. Dang Canyon seems mellow at first. It's not as full of obstacles as Ding Canyon is, except for the challenges that Dang Canyon throws at you are real whoppers. We were super lucky that some kind-hearted soul left the rope down this drop, because if they hadn't done that, we would have been forced to either do something really sketchy and dangerous, or turn around and go back down Ding. Here's one of only a couple of options for getting around this drop without a rope, and I'm not sure it's a good idea. This isn't even the worst obstacle to overcome, and a reason why you should have a good stretch of rope in your backpack if you're going to come down Dang Canyon. You don't want to be dependent on some kind soul leaving the rope there, or find yourself at one of these drops without a rope and not knowing what to do. And you certainly don't want to break your leg trying something foolish. And this is also an excellent reason why you want to come down Dang Canyon versus go up. And you ain't seen nothing yet, the worst is yet to come. This is very near the end of the canyon, and from what I've read, this puddle is always here, and it's waist deep and ice cold. And I think it's far better to end a hike with wet pants versus start one. I know, I can hear the hardcore rock climbers right now saying, "Dude, I could get up that like so easy, that's like nothing, bruh." But for the average person, these obstacles are quite challenging, and that is why Dang Canyon is rated as difficult.